This is Kelly Hall, President and CEO of the Longview Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of chambers from across the region, we appreciate you joining us this morning. I'd like to begin with a few housekeeping items. First, this webinar is being recorded and will be made available online at www.longviewchamber.com. For those on the line, you will receive an email later today with a link to listen to again, and I'd like for you to consider sharing with other businesses and friends in East Texas. Next, there are a couple of features I would like to make you aware of. Please find the chat and question icons. You can type in both of these features to the organizer. The purpose of the chat today is to make the organizer aware if there are any issues with the broadcast. The question feature is for you to ask questions of the presenter throughout the presentation. Today we have the Chief of Police, well, I said that wrong, didn't I, Chief? Chief of Police Mike Bishop with the City of Longview. Once he's done with his presentation, he's more than happy to answer questions. And if you think there's a question that needs to be asked during the presentation, just let me know, because he's more than willing to make this more like a conversation than just a presentation or a speech. So, Chief, I'd like to turn this time over to you now, and thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you, Kelly. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with our business community today. I know we've discussed a lot of things the last couple of days, and this is a trying time for all of us. This is something that we haven't had to deal with. I never thought that in my 30-year career here with the police department, we'd be sitting here in the situation that we are. So I did put together some bullet points and some slides today that I'd like to show you and talk a little bit about your businesses and some things that may be of concern to you. So I'm going to pull up my slides here, and we'll talk about a few things. And please, if anybody has any questions as we move through these slides, like Kelly said, I'd like this to be more of a conversation, and hopefully I can provide you either an answer to the questions you have or some resources that might help you find those answers that you're looking for. So everybody's aware that Governor Abbott just recently issued his GA-14 order that put a lot of restrictions on state and local governments as far as closing down businesses, those non-essential businesses, and allowing essential businesses to continue to operate because they're essential to our local economies and just keeping what we can keep up with as far as our daily lives and living go. So we have had a lot of different questions posed about what's essential and non-essential, and I'll get into that here a little bit more in just a minute. But for those businesses that are essential, of course, we want you to continue to keep operating, but even essential businesses should work hard to practice social distancing. This is something that's new for all of us. In the last several days since all this came about, we basically had to change the whole operations of the police department and how we operate and how we respond to calls, how we interact with the community. And we've had to put in a lot of those measures as well that you're having to go through with your businesses too. So hopefully we can help you understand and navigate a little bit better on some of the issues that you're having to work through as well. So one of the things that we encourage is that even essential businesses should work hard to practice social distancing with your workers. Some of the things that we're doing here in the police department is we've had to stop meeting in large groups. We've staggered work hours here just recently inside the facility, and we're encouraging officers out in the field to go ahead and wear a mask to not only help protect themselves, but to help protect the rest of our community as well. So We want to ask everybody to kind of heed the warning and wear a mask if you must go out in public. And this is providing that age makes no difference. That's one of the things that we see with this COVID-19 is we're all equal, and it can catch up with any one of us. So we want to throw that warning out there as well. So I mentioned a little bit about the essential and versus non-essential businesses. I hope everybody has had an opportunity to review the Department of Homeland Security guidelines that stipulate in these types of situations when emergency management plans are enacted, what are essential businesses and what are not. And Kelly, a lot of those on here today and a lot of our businesses may not be aware of those guidelines. So if I need to email you those guidelines from the Department of Homeland Security, I'll be more than pleased to do that so that you can push that out and they can see what the Department of Homeland Security deems as essential and non-essential. And if you remember, if you've read Governor Abbott's GA 14, he refers to this Department of Homeland Security guideline in his order about what is essential and non-essential. So that'll be a good resource for you to look at to help you make that determination. If you look at that guideline and you don't see your type of business listed in there, there is a website on the Texas Department of Emergency Management that I have listed here. You can go to that website and you can send them some information about your business and what services you provide, and they can share some information with you as to whether or not they feel that your business is essential or non-essential. So I'd kind of like to pause and see if there's any questions on essential versus non-essential at this point.
So in the mayor's declaration, there's a requirement about the number of people per square footage. I believe it was 5 to 1,000 for essential businesses. What is deemed is that the entire building, the 1,000 square feet, or is that how is that calculation done?
Well, I don't know exactly how the calculation is done, but I think what the objective was in that was to encourage the social distancing, even in the essential businesses. When this all started, we had a lot of issues. The non-essentials closed their business, and the essentials stayed open. But then, while the essential businesses were still open, they weren't very educated on the social distancing aspect of it. So that's what that was all put in place for in the mayor's order, was to have these retail locations that are still open get a little bit more strict with how many people they let into the locations, and those that are in the locations that to make sure that they practice social distancing. We were getting a lot of complaints about a lot of individuals going into grocery stores, bringing other family members in there that maybe didn't need to be there. All of that raises the risk of the potential exposure. So that's what the intent of that was. So our goal from the police perspective, of course, under the governor's order and under the mayor's order, those are both continuations of both the state and the local emergency management plans. When those orders go into place, it does create a criminal penalty for anyone that does not follow the orders that are issued. So our goal early on is education first. If necessary, we do have the option of filing a criminal case if it's necessary and we absolutely have people that are not adhering to the plans, but it was not our original goal of the police department to do that. So in light of the mayor's second order that came out yesterday, we spent a lot of time being proactive with that and going out to the businesses and going through that order with them and kind of educating them a little bit about what they needed to do. So and this time here, you know, like I said, one of the big things that we're concerned about was people grouping up, and this is not the time to be having a lot of people over to the homes or large gatherings at home or even in the workplace as well. And one of the big questions that we had early on was if you were an essential business and you had to have your employees out doing the business of the company, did they need some type of a letter or permission to do that? There's no letter or no permission that needs to be granted for you as an employer to have your people out doing, your employees out doing what they need to do. So we are not requiring that anybody conducting essential business have a letter from their employer to do that. One other topic that I'd like to touch on real quick, because of the situation that we all find ourselves in doing teleconferencing like we're doing now. I know a lot of businesses and companies are being forced to conduct their business this way. I just kind of want to talk about a few warnings that we've received dealing with teleconferencing and online classroom hijacking during the COVID-19 pandemic. We've gotten these warnings from our federal law enforcement partners to kind of be aware of this, and I think it would be prudent for our business community to be aware of that, to make sure that your information technology infrastructure is up to date and the best possible programs or software that you can have to prevent hacking into these systems is very important. And of course, that's one of the things now, everybody's doing it. So the vulnerability of somebody hacking into a teleconference or classified or high level communications between companies that have trade secrets, things of that nature, this certainly needs to be a concern. Coronavirus themed phishing emails. How many of y'all have gotten emails that are just flooding you and the header line says COVID-19? It's amazing what individuals can do in a time of crisis to push their products is related to the crisis itself and how they can help you manage whatever product they're trying to give you to help you manage your business through this process. So we've been warned to watch for a lot of these type themed phishing emails come through. I know we get a lot of emails from different vendors trying to sell equipment and to the police department, medical supplies, and it's all themed toward COVID-19. So just please be aware that is a potential risk and something that you need to be aware of. The United States Department of Justice sent us some information concerning fraudulent activity too, just to kind of hit on some of the fraudulent activity that could occur and quite honestly is probably occurring. Fraud with medical benefits. As you know, Congress passed a big stimulus package. So stimulus aid fraud could be possibly occurring. Unemployment benefits, medical equipment. If you've watched the news, one of the major issues that a lot of medical personnel and first responders are having is the lack of personal protective equipment. So there's a lot of people out there that claim that they have these products, they're for sale, and they can get them to you. I would caution everybody to look into that a little further. If you're going to purchase this metal equipment, or you're going to purchase protective equipment for your employees, to really know the vendor that you're dealing with. And a lot of them want payment up front before they'll send the stuff. So that's always a concern there. And then of course, price gouging during a crisis situation is always a concern. And I know our Attorney General here in the state of Texas has addressed that too. And some of the different types of fraud that's occurring out there. The Department of Justice does have an assistant U.S. attorney over in Tyler that's dedicated to prosecuting these types of cases. So if anybody experiences any of this, please, we ask you to go ahead and call us and report it to us, and let us help you liaison with the federal agencies that would investigate that, should we not be able to do that here within the police department. So I want to talk a little bit about the business community and residential alarm responses. At the onset of this COVID-19, when the governor's order and then the mayor's order came out, we had to, like I said, we had to change our operations a little bit. Some of the things that we were doing here in the police department. We are not responding to low priority calls. We're finding alternate means of handling those over the phone, and taking reports over the phone while we're staying available to answer priority calls. So business alarms are still a priority call for us, and we're still going to respond to businesses that have alarm systems when the alarm is activated. One of the things that I instructed our officers to do, because we do have a lot of, while everybody's sheltering at home, we do have a lot of businesses that are closed down. So I've encouraged our officers to patrol these areas heavily. So we have some extra patrols going on around the business community. One thing that's important, if it's been a little while since you've updated your key holder information for your business, if you had some turnover, we'd like to make sure that we have the most current information in our system. Should we respond and have an issue at one of these locations, we have the proper information to get a hold of an individual from the company to respond out there and help us if need be. And that number would be our communication center at 903-237-1170. And that's just a simple phone call, and ask them to make sure that we have the updated and correct information in our system so that we can contact the appropriate personnel if we need to. So real quick, a couple of security issues dealing with physical security. I know this all come upon us quickly, and a lot of individuals had to close businesses and really didn't have the time to do what needed to be done to secure their businesses. So a couple of things that we can do at the very basic level is one, ensure all doors and windows are properly secured, the best that you can. Also ensure that you have proper outside lighting and that is working. Lighting around a facility is a deterrent, and it helps the officers too as they're driving by to have some visibility around the different locations. And if you have a security system, please ensure that your security cameras are operational and they review footage daily. One of the things that we commonly run into is a lot of these will only store so much data before it starts recording over top of it. So if you have a system that does that, you might want to look at extending that time frame before it starts to record over. So a couple of things with the police department and our day-to-day operations, we're maintaining regular patrols while practicing social distancing. We're minimizing face-to-face calls by offering to take reports over the phone, like I mentioned. We have closed our lobby windows, but all of our online forms are at longviewtexas.gov/2196. Open records requests can be done via email to LPD Open Records at longviewtexas.gov. And if you go to our website, if you need to obtain an accident report or anything like that, all that can be done online through our website at longviewtexas.gov. So Kelly, with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Guess it would help if I would turn my microphone back on.
One
of the things that's been facts or myths that you see on social media is that police will be pulling drivers over in town to see if they are truly making non-essential runs, and you have to have paperwork and all this stuff. Could you please just clarify that for us?
That's a good question. We are not randomly stopping people to determine whether or not they're essential or non-essential. We are continuing on with our normal operations that we will only stop individuals if it's a traffic violation or a violation of the criminal statutes. So that is not occurring. And I know there was a lot of questions about that. And I knew I had even seen some comments that said we were doing it when we weren't doing it. So that's a good question, because there has been a lot of miscommunications on that.
Thanks. And then how will you guys help with the enforcement between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m.? What does that look like?
Well, I happened to be down here at the station last night and drove home about a little after midnight. And it was kind of an eerie feeling because I've never seen our city like this. It was pretty locked down. A lot of our grocery stores are closing somewhere around the 9 o'clock hour. So after 10 o'clock at night, there really hasn't been a whole lot of people on the street. Of course, if we run across somebody in the course of our normal duties, then we may ask those questions on, where are you going, what are you doing, those sorts of things to help determine whether or not the individuals need to be out there on the street.
So when we don't have enough time really to tell what's going to happen yet, have you seen crime go up or down during this period?
It's been relatively quiet for us. We've had a few major situations, but I really think everybody in our community is working together to abide by these orders. Like I said last night, it was kind of an eerie feeling driving home and seeing the city like this.
You mentioned about the fraud activity, and I know that AEP SWIPCO has put out several alerts about the calls that are going out to the community. Have you, other than AEP SWIPCO, can you be specific about some of the others that are happening in Longview?
We haven't really taken too many reports directly related to fraudulent activity. So we haven't really started to see that yet, as these other issues that I talked about get ramped up, we may see some of that activity going on, but we rely on our community to report that when they see that or when they experience that.
Okay. So let's talk about internal safety procedures. Unfortunately, there's layoffs occurring daily. People are being furloughed. Emotional stress and distress are running pretty high, whether your job is safe or not. So as employers are dealing with these emotions and perhaps even a little bit unusual behaviors because people just aren't coping well, what are some things that businesses can do to be proactive to prevent things from going wrong?
I think some of the things that businesses can do is to first communicate with your employees. While this crisis is going on and while we're all dealing with this, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of things that we don't know about yet. And I think that's what individuals want, is they want to know. So I would encourage you to communicate with your employees. Listen, I think everybody understands the situation we're in, but I think too, you're dealing with the fear of the unknown. So I think, communicating with your employees, being honest with them, showing some empathy. I know we're gonna have individuals, businesses are closed. How are the businesses gonna stay in business, come back up? But I think showing some empathy with your employees and kind of talking through the situation with them could be a big advantage in helping the employers and the businesses navigate through this as well.
Okay. Chief, one of the questions that we have, and they have moved about 300 employees to virtual working, with very few still having to provide services face to face. Due to this, they have about 30 to 40 company vehicles, and they have concerns about providing security for those. Do you have any suggestions or ideas for protecting those vehicles from burglary or vandalism? Hiring security is just not cost effective for them to do.
Sure, that's a good question, and thanks for putting that the question forward. One thing you can do is, if you're going to have an extended period, like the scenario you just gave with the vehicles all parked in one location, if you'll call our public safety communications at that number I provided, 237-1170, and ask them to put down that location for an extra patrol, and then just tell them a little bit about what is there, what you want the officers to look after. We'll put a call sheet in for that, and we'll leave it open so that all the officers on the different shifts will see that, and we'll try to get by there and keep an extra eye on them the best we can.
Thank you. Well, Chief, I don't see any other questions coming in, so I'll just close with one last thing, and that is, how can businesses help our police department during this time?
Well, like I said, and I've said this a couple times, we're all in this together. I think the businesses can help us by abiding by the governor's order and the mayor's order. That goes a long way for us. It makes our job a little bit easier, but we have great support from our community here, and it's one of the things that I've really been blessed with working here for this department. We have great support, and I want our business community and our community to know that we're here to support you. I think, sometimes it's just as simple as, if you see an officer, just waving and saying hi. That really goes a long way. But we've always had great support here, and I appreciate that. And just want to assure everybody that as we navigate through this, we're all in this together, and we're going to do what we can do to help keep our city and our businesses as safe as we can. And we'll all get through this.
Excellent. Well, Chief, I'd like to thank you for taking time to be with us. I know your schedule's pretty hectic these days, and I appreciate you helping us think through next steps and prepare for the future. One of the roles our chamber plays is to help create an economic environment that allows prosperity to occur. One of the ways we can respond quickly to our business needs is by providing relevant webinars like the one we had today. Please be sure and visit the calendar on our website for our current list of webinars and workshops. Together, we will be stronger, and we will come through this rocky period stronger than ever before. Again, on behalf of the chambers across East Texas, we appreciate your participation. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be made available online at longviewchamber.com. For those online, you will receive an email later today with a link to listen to again and/or share with others. Chief, thank you for being with us and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.